Eventually, we're going to figure this out, guys. Just stick around with us, all right? Hey, listen, we're so glad you guys are here. We are starting our brand new series, What Keeps You Up at Night? And I put it on there. It's my confession. Any leg pillow people in here? Who sleeps with a leg pillow? Anybody? All right, so now some of y'all may use like a pillow that you put in between your legs when you sleep, but I'm fancy. I got a leg pillow. It looks like a little marshmallow, all right? And this thing is awesome. I love this thing. It's like memory foam or whatever like that. And it's just this nice little, looks heart-shaped little thing, right? And it fits right in between my legs. I absolutely love that thing. So I don't know about you, your sleeping habits, how you sleep or whatever, but, I don't know how many of you have been asked, how do you sleep at night? But when I was growing up, whole time growing up, I slept on my back sleeper my entire life, right? And now that I'm in the 40 range, something started happening. I get little tum-tum, little belly issues at night, so I have to lay on my side so I don't have those belly issues anymore, all right? Well, since I became a side sleeper now, I found out something weird happened. I would get up in the morning, I'd be like, why do my hips hurt? Like, what's that all about, right? And people who are older and wiser than me are like, you're getting older. That happens with age. So I use my little leg pillow at night so that my legs feel good in the morning. So, just another sign that, we're all getting older and, everything's falling apart, right? I don't know how you sleep. Maybe you're a side sleeper. Maybe you're a back sleeper. Maybe you're one of those weirdos that sleep on your belly. I don't know. First of all, I don't know how you do that and not like, I feel like my neck is breaking if I ever lay on my stomach. Like, I cannot do that. But some of you, maybe you toss and turn. Maybe you sleep all through the night. I feel like I'm at camp when I ask this question, but how many of y'all, did anybody in this room last night, did anybody get that beautiful doctor-recommended 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Did anybody end up getting that last night? Okay, you guys are just ready to seize the day then, right? You got it all figured out, right? Okay, how many y'all, let's just get through it. How many less than 5 hours? Who got less than 5 hours? Unprovoked, by the way. You couldn't do it, right? All right, okay. Some of y'all, maybe you rotate on that. Maybe that's just how you operate, I know some people that literally, they get 2 to 3 hours, and they're like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, you're insane. I don't know how you do that. I need to get my sleep. But here's the thing. A lot of you, I would say, that many of you, even though you'd say, yeah, I'd like to get 6 to 7, definitely 8 hours of sleep if I could. Some of y'all maybe struggle to sleep at night. Maybe it's for different reasons, but a lot of times, sometimes we can struggle with sleeping at night because there are things that are keeping us awake. There are things that are on our mind. I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of times I'll lay in bed and I'll be like, I am so tired. Today drained me. This was a big one, right? I am so tired. I'm going to sleep so good. I am worn out. And you lay your head on that pillow, and all of a sudden, all of the events of your life start flashing before your eyes while you're trying to fall asleep, and all the mistakes you've ever made, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm wide awake now. I'm wide awake. I can't sleep. I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep. There are things that keep us up at night. There are things that constantly are on our head or on our heart, or just in our very being, that sometimes just always chirp at you and keep you from getting the rest that you need, probably the rest that you deserve, right? Because God created us to rest. You realize that, right? God created this world, and then he rested on the seventh day. Why did he do that? As an example to us to say, get your rest. You need rest, right? But oftentimes, we are restless. And we have a hard time sleeping. We have a hard time laying our pillow on our head and actually falling asleep. So what keeps you up at night? There can be a million things, right? Maybe it's a relationship, something that's going on in your family that has really stressed you out. Maybe it's an argument you had with someone. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay for something or how you're going to deal with a situation that's coming up. Maybe it's just this constant fear of what the future may hold or the decisions that need to be made. All these different things that truly keep you up at night. That's what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. But what I want to talk about today is something that hits home for me. Today we want to talk about this idea of conflict and criticism, where we find ourselves when it comes to these things that happen in our life. Now, for some of you, when I say the word conflict, you're like, whatever, dude, that doesn't bother me at all. I love conflict. I love a good fight, right? I know some people, when there's a fight, like on the other side of the room, they're like, let's go. Like they're excited about it, right? But if you're like me, I'm not a conflict guy. In fact, I stay away from it if I can. I'm not into that, right? I get nervous when other people are fighting. When I have no stake in it, when I have no reason to be a part of that, if other people are upset, I'm like, what's going on with them? I hope it's okay. Like I have no reason to be a part of that, but it stresses me out because something within me wants there to be peace, right? And sometimes I will sacrifice whatever I have to so that there will be peace. I'm not a big conflict person. Some of you guys are. But in the end, conflict is something that we all fall into. We all have that issue. And many times, whether it's you're angry and you're ready to fight somebody, or you're just upset that you made some wrong decisions or said some wrong things, conflict can keep us from getting the rest that we need in our lives so that we can live life to the fullest. And so I want to talk about for just a couple minutes here about this idea of about a true pillow fight. You're fighting your own pillow at night for the things that's going on in your life because of this criticism that you got or this conflict that you haven't been able to resolve in your own life. And here's the best part. The greatest thing I can tell you today is that when you look at characters, we call them characters, but real life people that are in the Bible that God talks about, right? We look at these people a lot of times and we try to put them on this pedestal. We try to make them into these superheroes, if you will. We try to make them into someone who had it all together, when in fact, that is not the case. So there were these two guys, and we're going to share the story here in a second. These two guys that got into a huge, huge argument. One of them you've probably heard of before. His name's Paul. He was the Apostle Paul. He used to be Saul. Life changed by Jesus, dramatic change, literally was a persecutor of Christians and then became a Christian, a Christ follower himself, shared the gospel all around the place, changed the world for Jesus, literally wrote most of what we call the New Testament in the Bible. I mean, this guy was a superstar, right? And I think we speak of him like that because he was a really important guy. There was another dude that was with him at this time that was doing the work of going out and sharing Jesus with other people, and his name was Barnabas, right? We'll call him Barney for short. Not the dinosaur, just this guy, right? So Paul and Barney, they're together, and they're decided they're going to go on some missions. They're going to go on some trips together, right? And they're going and they're sharing Jesus, and they're doing some amazing things. They're seeing the gospel moving. They're seeing just miracles happening in front of them, right? Well, they get to this point in this story, and they come to a bit of a disagreement. I want to share this story with you. This is actually found in Acts chapter 15, towards the end in verse 36. Check this out. It says, after some time, Paul said to Barnabas, let's go back and visit each city where we previously preached the word of the Lord to see how the new believers are doing. Barnabas agreed and wanted to take along John Mark. Here's where the problem happens, right? It says, but Paul disagreed strongly since John Mark had deserted him in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in their work. Their disagreement was so sharp that they separated. Barnabas took John Mark with him and sailed for Cyprus. Paul chose Silas, and as he left, the believers entrusted him to the Lord's gracious care. Then he traveled through Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the churches there. So, this is where we have the disagreement. There is a moment of criticism here that we see. We see Paul, Barnabas getting along. Things are going great. Awesome. Probably not everything perfect, but rolling, just getting going. And then they decide that they're going to go back. They're like, listen, let's go strengthen these guys. Let's go encourage them. Okay, great. I want to take, you find out actually in this story, this was his family. I want to take John Mark with us, Barney says. Paul says, nah, he's not going with us. He's like, well, why not? Dude flaked us a while back. Like, he just left us. Now, we don't know why he exactly deserted him. Could have been scared, could have been discouraged, could have been a whole bunch of stuff. But what we do know is that there was some previous place that they were going, and he left, and he deserted them, is how he said it. He deserted them. So he said, no, I don't want the dude. He's weak. He's a deserter. No, he's not going to help us out. He said, no, actually, he's gotten better. No, he's going to go with us. He says, absolutely not. We are not taking John Mark. He says, well, fine. If you don't want to take John Mark, then I'll go this way. Paul says, well, fine. If you don't want to go with me, I'll take this dude Silas with me. So they go the opposite direction. Their disagreement was so bad that they decided in the midst of all the amazing things that they were doing that they were going to split and go separate directions with different people. This is the argument that we see happening. And I love when you read it because it just says sharp disagreement. We should use that more often, right? My wife and I had a sharp disagreement, right? It's very sharp. You didn't want to touch it. It's very sharp, right? Sharp disagreement. They were arguing. They were mad at each other. They were steaming mad. I can guarantee it wasn't, well, I don't think we should take John Mark. Well, I think we should take John Mark. No, there was no passive aggressive. There was straight aggressive, right? I'm sure they were screaming and yelling at each other. And they said, fine, we'll go separate directions. This is the fight that occurs and what ends up happening. So I want you to know you take two guys who are truly just pillars of the faith and awesome dudes who changed the world for the gospel of Jesus Christ. These people who we look to and use as examples and follow to what it means to truly love Jesus, follow Jesus, and share Jesus with other people. They got mad at each other and walked the other way. They probably wanted to fight each other. They probably wanted to take each other out. So what's the point for us? What does all this mean? Why are we sharing this story today when it comes to what's keeping us up at night? First thing I want you guys to see this, because this is very, very important. You're going to fight with the people you care about, with the people you love, of course with the people you don't like, of course with the people you disagree with, but you are going to fight. Let me share a quick story with you. A few years back, we go to camp in Lavallette, West Virginia, and awesome time. We have an amazing time. It's coming up here at the end of May. Cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. For a couple years ago, we decided that we were going to have this big battle, right? Boys against girls, all right? There's this hill, and it goes down to this flat area, and there we do like water balloons and squirt guns and all that stuff, right? So we have this big idea. Well, the boys, I'm kind of heading up the boys. What they don't know is that we kind of panned it out, tried to at least, all right? And I'm over with the boys, and before we're supposed to go down this one hill, the girls are going to be on this side, the boys are going to be on this side, right? And as we're getting ready to go, the boys, as I'm walking them over, there's this big mud pit, and they're like, hey, I heard the girls are going to be bringing some stuff to throw at us, so let's take some mud pies down there, and we'll throw them at them, right? A responsible adult says, no, that's a dumb idea. I said, I guess. So they bring buckets of mud down there, right? Guys, I'm telling you right now, that fight did not last 3 minutes before all of it broke loose, if you know what I'm talking about. Some girl got like right here in her eye, and it was like we had to shut down the whole, guys, it was a disaster. It really was. It was what we thought was going to be an amazing time turned out to be a not so amazing time, all right? So we're arguing as adults. The adults are arguing because they're like, why would you let it? And I'm like, are you kidding? It's not that big a deal. Like we're just going back and forth, guys. It got heated, right? So we have to shut it down. We're doing it in front of the kids. So we're like, guys, go to your cabins. So we send all the kids off to their cabins, right? They don't know what's happening. They're just in their cabin like, are they killing each other? Like, what's going on? Like, are we going to have to run this camp by ourselves in the morning? Like, are we just going to bodies on the ground when we wake up, right? What's going to happen? What was great about it, though, is that we all went into the mess hall there, and we sat down, and we talked it out for about 15 minutes. Everyone aired their grievances, and then we all came to an agreement. You know what? We cannot let camp, because this was the last night. We were like, we cannot let camp end that way. And we were able to get them all out of their camp, because they were all awake. They were all like peeping out the window, seeing what's happening, right? So we all get them up, and we say, hey, come on, let's head back up here. We're going to raid the fridge of all the stuff we got left, and we're going to play basketball. We're just going to have a great night. We ended up having an amazing night. It was so much fun. It really, really was. But we had this disagreement, and I got to tell you, every single person, every single adult that was sitting in that mess hall when we were talking, I loved them. I cared so much about them. But we were all angry at each other. I mean, we really were. I mean, it was like, this could end badly if we don't deal with this, right? I want you to know, guys, that you are going to fight with people that you care about. Get married and figure that out, right? You are going to get angry with the people that you care the most about very often. Not just the people that criticize you, not just the people that you fight with, but the people you care about the most. Fighting is going to happen to every single one of us. And you know what we do a lot of times? We sit there and we go, man, I wish I need to get it all together. I can't believe that I'm dealing with this. Why do I always find myself in conflicts? Why do I find myself always trying to battle other people? And what if we just took a second and maybe realized that conflict does not mean that you are a bad Christian. It just means that you're a human being. Because every single one of us struggle with conflict. Every single one of us are going to have to figure out how to handle criticism because it's going to come into your life. This is how we grow. This is how we move. Paul and Barnabas figured this out, right? They knew that they were going to argue. They knew they were going to fight. So much so that they both said, I'm going this way, you go that way. How many people in your life do you know that you just need to look at them and say, you go this way, I'll go that way? You're like oil and water. You just don't mix. Right? Because the struggle, the battle for every single one of us is how we're going to deal with the conflict. And many times we find ourselves saying we can't, and we think that because of our brokenness and because of our sin that there's something that I need to be able to change or something that I need to be able to do. But maybe it's about understanding first and foremost that conflict is going to happen in your life not because you are a bad person, but because you are just like every other single person on this earth. We do this in the world, right? We do this in the media. You do this with social media. They do this on the news. They do this everywhere. Everything is about us against them. Bad versus good. Light against dark. Everything is a battle against each other. What if the scariest thing would be if everybody in the room started to realize that it's not about bad person, good person. It's about broken person versus broken person. It's about understanding that we're in this together. Because see, what we end up doing is we say that this person's the good guy. We want everybody to be the good guy or the bad guy. When we look at the characters in the Bible, we want to make sure that we know who's the white hat guy and who's the black hat guy. I want to know when I read a story, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. We want it simple, right? But it doesn't read that way. Why? Because when you look at a guy and you put him on this pedestal, you want to say, look how awesome this dude is. And then you read a portion of it and you go, maybe he wasn't so awesome. Maybe he wasn't so great. Maybe he didn't have it all together. Maybe he did have some shortcomings. Maybe he was imperfect. Maybe he was messed up, just like you're messed up, just like I'm messed up. The first thing you have to be able to understand when it comes to conflict is that it's going to happen. You are going to fight. You cannot avoid it. Fights will come. Whether you wanted it or not, a fight will happen. But it doesn't mean that because you're finding yourself in the middle of a battle or a struggle or an argument, that somehow you're the one who has messed up absolutely everything. Every single one of us are going to fall into that category. So now that we know we're going to fight, what is it that we can do? What do we do with that, all right? Here's something that's important for us to remember. You can only control you. Think about it. You can only control you. So Paul, the guy who's arguing with Barnabas in this story, right? The guys who literally said, we're just going to have to separate, right? A while later, he writes this to a church in Rome. And it's an interesting thing that he says because it's almost, you're like, dude, what a hypocrite, right? Here's what he says in Romans 12. He says, do all that you can do to live in peace with everyone. Now, when you read that, do all that you can do to live in peace with everyone. Paul, what a peaceful statement. Oh, wait a minute. Weren't you just cussing out that dude and leaving the other dude in the dust because you were mad at him because he wanted to bring his cousin or something? That seems a little contradictory, right? That seems like a little out of character for him, correct? So why is this the point that you are trying to make to us that we need to be able, because of this? Even he knew that it's not always going to be about what is happening around us, but it's what you can do. He said, do all that you can do to live in peace with everyone. So think about this. Every single one of us have things that happen in our lives. Some of it is under your control. Some of it just isn't. You can't control every single thing that happens in your life. We want to be able to have control. We want to be able to control the outcome, but it doesn't always work that way. My kids play a lot of different sports. My middle is not in here. He went to next level this morning, so I can talk bad about him. He's a good little ball player, but he thinks he's a much better referee, umpire, coach. He knows better than anybody. Just ask him, right? He's the kind in the middle of the game when the referee calls a foul, he's like, oh no, that wasn't a foul. It's like, dude, stop. Calm down, right? Why does he do that? Because he wants to be able to control the outcome. We all want to be able to control the outcomes. And I have to tell him all the time, hey, listen, you make a way better player than you do a referee. You make a way better player than you do a coach. Just play. Let the coaches coach. Let the referee do his job. Because I promise you this. Think about this, guys. I go up for a layup. I get fouled. I miss the shot. The referee calls nothing, right? I start running to the referee. That was a foul. That was a foul. I can't believe he didn't call a foul. Are you blind? Everyone else saw it. Look, everyone else is seeing it, right? Do you think what do you think that referee is going to do? Because I promise he ain't going to do this. You know what? Now that you say that, now that you mention that, you know what? Hey, can I rescind that? That's actually a foul that happened 4 minutes ago. Can you please change that? It's going to change nothing. In fact, it's probably going to hurt your situation because now that dude's like, anybody in here that's ref, you're like, next time you do get fouled, I'm definitely not calling it, right? Why? Because it's out of your control. You cannot control it. You are so worked up trying to control something you cannot control, right? So what can you control? What are the things that you can control when it comes to a conflict, when it comes to an argument, when it comes to a sharp disagreement? What can you control? 3 things I think you can control. Your attitude, your words, and your actions. Your attitude, your words, and your actions. Think about it. When you're dealing with an argument, when you're dealing with a fight, when you're dealing with a conflict, the things that you think about while you're dealing with it, most of the times when you get in an argument with someone, they're not listening to anything that you have to say. They're already figuring out how they're going to tell you you're wrong, and they have the answer to it, right? We sit up in bed at night and we go, listen, I know exactly how this argument's going to go because they're going to see it my way, right? Yeah, sure. Right. They're definitely going to fall into my camp because I'm the one who's going to have it all together. It's our attitude when we go into these things many times. I'm coming in to win. I'm coming in to show you why you are wrong. Our attitude. Or how about our words? That's a big one. You know how many times I've gotten into words and arguments with people that they say stuff, it's pretty hurtful. And then they come back later, oh, I'm sorry I said that. I really didn't mean that. I was like, I think you kind of meant it or else you wouldn't have said it, right? We have to be able to figure out how to control our words, the things that we say, knowing what we're going to say when we go into something. And then the last one's our actions. What are you truly trying to do? What are the things that you are showing from the outside that says, look, I want reconciliation. I want this fixed. I want the best outcome for what's happening here. Because here's the thing. Sometimes the best outcome is you go that way, I go that way, right? We can control our actions. Stop getting so worried and worked up about the things that you can't control and concentrate on the things that God gives you the opportunity to control. You're going to fight. You're going to find yourselves in conflict just like Paul, just like Barney, just like these guys in this same story. But we have to remember what we can and can't control. So what I want to do, what I need to do, is do what I can to live peacefully with the people around me. That's what Paul says. Do what you can. Because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of times, most of the time, I can't do anything. I have no control over it. That's when I'm able to say, God, do your thing. I have no way of controlling this outcome. You have to be the one that's in charge. He goes on in that same passage. Let me flesh it out just a little bit here in verse 17. He says, never pay back evil with more evil. Think about that one. You ever heard that statement before? It comes from Paul. Never pay back evil with more evil. That's opposite of what we want to do. We want to fight fire with fire, right? He says, never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see that you are honorable. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Instead of us always concentrating on everything else that's around us, on everybody else that's in the situation, trying to make it about them, what if we actually take a second and make it about us? Because the question isn't, are they doing their part? The question is, am I doing mine? Now, at the end of the day, you said, I've done my part. I've done all that I can do. That's when you let go and let God. That's when you let God do his thing. So we have something that we can control. The last thing is this. And this is where the encouragement happens, because for many of us, we think that that's a door that's shut when we get into an argument or a disagreement with someone, we walk away from them, right? Because here's what I'll say. And I don't know how some of y'all do it. It's amazing to me. Some of y'all can literally get in an argument or have a problem that ends up happening with someone in your life, and you say, well, that person is dead to me. That person does not exist. Like literally, if they come in the same room, I don't even know they're there. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing to me. I'm not even mad at you. I'm impressed. I'm like, how in the world does someone do that? Because when I am mad at someone or when I'm upset with someone and they come, I'm like, oh, there they are. There they are. Do they know I'm mad at them? They know I'm mad at them, right? I can't stop thinking about it. And then I look at the person, I'm like, oh, there they are. They're like, who? Who are you talking about? Oh, yeah, no, I don't even think about them. Like, wow, how do you do that? But Paul shows us something interesting here. He actually shows us that time can actually change things. Time can change things. Why do I know that? This Paul, who got in this fight with Barney, 17 years later, he writes a letter. He's toward the end of his life. It's going to go bad. Probably going to end with him dead. He's writing a letter to a young dude named Timothy. And he tells him something. He gives him some last instructions. And here's what he ends up saying in 2 Timothy chapter 4. He says, only Luke is with me. Bring Mark when you come, for he will be helpful to me in my ministry. Did you catch that? Bring Mark. Who's Mark? The guy that was in the center of this entire problem, that was in the center of this argument. Mark. He said, bring him with me. Why? Because he's important to me. He'll help me. He means something to this. What's the point? Time can actually heal wounds that have been open for a long time. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be 17 minutes later. Doesn't mean it's going to be 17 years later. But Paul was able to see a change in him. Paul saw a change in his own life. What was that change? Perspective, maturing, growing, all the things that come with time. You see, God gave us this amazing thing called time that many of us, if I think about it, a lot of times I look at it as a curse because I'm like, I don't have enough time. I need more time. Time is like just going away too fast now, and I need more of it. But what if we actually looked at time as a gift? God, who is above it, who created it, gives it to every single one of us to show us that we only have a limited amount of it here with the people that we are around. And so as he has that perspective on time and he sees for what Mark has done, you see, he went off in a completely different direction with Barney, right? Mark and Barney went off this way. Paul and Silas went this way. They both went off and did amazing things. Like life-changing things, like gospel-driven, just amazing stuff that ended up happening. He sees that, and at the end of his life, who's he called for? He calls for Mark. And if the name sounds familiar, it's because you've probably read in your Bible before the Gospel of Mark. Same dude. Same guy. So a guy who Paul was like, dude, he's a flaker, he's weak, he has nothing. I don't even want to go on another trip with this dude. Actually, if you bring him, I'm not going with you anymore. That same guy later on gives us an account of the eyewitnesses of Jesus Christ himself. And Paul, towards the end of his life, wants to see him because he knows how important and how helpful he was to the gospel and what it means to see lives changed for Jesus. Time can change things. Because here's what it comes down to, guys. We always want to be able to just say, you know what? I can slam the door shut on that. I can knock that out and never have that a part of my life anymore. And you know what? Many times, it makes sense. But what I'm so thankful for, that in my life, when it comes to my relationship with God, is that it's not about this law. It's not about this rule that says if you break it, you can't be a part of this anymore. But it's truly about grace. Because in the end, law will always slam the door shut. But grace, keeps it cracked open. You see, many of us, we're able to say, I can control this, right? I can take that door and I can hold it right here and say, listen, I can control my actions. I can control my words. I can control my attitude in this moment right now. But grace leaves that door here to have that conversation that maybe one day, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but those conflicts and those problems that we have fallen into with other people in our lives, we care about, we know about, maybe grace gives it just a little bit of a crack for something else to change. And I want you to know today that for you and I, God not only gives us the cracked open door, but he busted it wide open. He gave Jesus the keys and said, here, open it to everyone. And so that everybody can enter in. Everybody can be a part of the family. Everybody gets to be a part of the party. Whether we like it or not, everybody gets to be a part of this thing called grace. Everybody gets to be a part of this love and mercy that he shows for every single one of us. That's what God did for us through his son, Jesus. So today, let me ask you, is conflict the fight that you seem to have with your pillow every single night? Are you struggling with your thoughts, with your actions, with your attitude, and who you're dealing with every single day because you're worried that because of your conflict that somehow you're not doing this whole Christ-following thing right? Join the club. Be a part of it because I'm right there with you. I avoid conflict because I'm afraid that it's going to somehow lead me to a place where I'm not supposed to be, when in fact, Jesus says, you're going to have it. You're going to fall into it. How about trust in me with the things you can't control? Would you guys bow your heads with me really fast? I just want to pray for every single one of us. Father, today as we talked about what it truly means to struggle with rest and with the restlessness of the situations in our own lives, God, if there are people here today who are struggling with fights and conflicts and maybe even an inner conflict in their own life, God, I pray that they would be able to find rest, knowing that fighting is going to happen, but it doesn't have to end ugly because you can change things. And that doesn't mean that we just let everybody run over us. That doesn't just mean that we let everybody take advantage of us. But God, we can control the things that you have given in our trust. So Father, I just pray for every single one of us today that we would give you control of the things that only you can. Father, we lay it all down to you today. We trust in you. We thank you for what you've already done in our lives, asking God that maybe if there's someone here today who's looking for healing, who's looking for a change, God, I pray that you would give that to them in your time. God, I pray you would give it to them in your way. Help us to know that the conflicts that we come in contact with every single day can be answered only through you, can only be changed through you. Help us to remember that today. We love you so much today. We thank you so much. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, thank you again for coming today. We appreciate you all being here. Join us next week for week